Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
I've got a promise from the Bible that I believe you need to hear right now in this moment. The godly may trip 7 times, but they will get up again. Hi, welcome to the Bible for Busy People. My name is Erica, and yep, we've got God's medicine cabinet open again today. You know, I love how the Bible describes God as the great physician. Whatever is hurting you today, whatever is making your heart ache, God has something for that. Another description of him is balm. Have you ever put balm on a wound and your wound was instantly soothed? Jesus is the one. He is the Prince of Peace who soothes us like a cool ice pack. When we burn ourselves, he is there for us. When our hearts hurt and ache and burn, he is the one who made us, so he knows how to treat us. Did I mention I'm Erica, your host, and I wanted to kick off with Proverbs 24:16 because it's true. Every single one of us is going to fail at one point in our lives or 1,000 points in our lives. You may have failed this morning. Well, let me tell you something. Failure is a bruise, not a tattoo, and bruises heal, my friend. So don't stay there in the failure. Get back up and trust the Lord. I read a wild biography yesterday about Dog the Bounty Hunter. Actually, I guess you could consider it an autobiography because he wrote it. And I have to tell you, he's a man who has been to rock bottom. That is a place. Maybe you've been there. I've been there. And he found Jesus was the rock at the bottom. Dr. Tony Evans coined that phrase, and I love it so much. But here's what's interesting about Dog's story and my story and your story. Rock bottom is a place you may visit several times in your life, or you may stop a few levels up. It might not be that bad where you lose your kids or your house or your freedom. Dog went to prison because he was sort of like an accomplice to a murder. I forget what the legal thing to say is. He didn't pull the trigger, but he was out in the car when the murder happened. And so maybe you've got caught up in trouble. Maybe there's a secret sin you're hiding today. Oh, my friend, you don't have to stay there. You can be truly free. You can tell God you're sorry. Call his name. His name is Jesus. Lord, I'm sorry for what I've done. Forgive me. Cleanse me by that blood you shed for me on your cross. And he will. That's our good Lord. He's the good shepherd, always leading us out of rock bottom into green pastures again. Now, I want to invite you to join me now in Philippians chapter 3. We're going to begin in verse 10, but first I want to tell you who the author is. It's the Apostle Paul. By the way, he describes himself as the chief of sinners in the New Testament. He failed. He was murdering Christians, thinking he was doing God a favor. He didn't realize until he met Jesus, and he was literally knocked off a physical horse, but we could call it a high horse. And when he encountered Jesus, he realized, oh my goodness, I was wrong. And he collected himself, and God healed him and gave him a new vision and a new mission. And Paul carried on, and you can too. You can get back up again, my friend. Okay, Philippians 3, beginning in verse 10, the Apostle Paul writes, I want to know Christ and experience the mighty power that raised him from the dead. I want to suffer with him, sharing in his death, so that one way or another, I will experience the resurrection from the dead. Wow. If that overwhelms you for a second here, hang on, because here comes verse 12. I don't mean to say that I've already achieved these things or that I have already reached perfection, but I press on to possess that perfection for which Christ Jesus first possessed me. No, dear brothers, I have not achieved it, but I focus on this one thing, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead. I press on to reach the end of the race and receive the heavenly prize for which God, through Christ Jesus, is calling us. There is a reason the windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror in your car. And that's because your future is bigger than your past. Don't look behind. Don't look and see if the bruise is healing. Trust the Lord that He is going to wash away your failures and your mistakes completely with the blood He shed for you. That was for you. This whole Christian thing that maybe you've heard about your whole life is very personal. Jesus died for you, and He rose again, defeating everything you're afraid of, including going to hell. You don't have to be afraid to go to hell. You can trust in Jesus, and He will forgive you for what you've done. And when you accept that free gift of forgiveness, He opens the door to heaven and you walk in. You get in on His score, not yours. None of us are good enough to open that door. Only Jesus with His nail-scarred hand can do it. Okay, I want to wrap up our time today in Psalm 37, beginning in verse 23. The Lord directs the steps of the godly. He delights in every detail of their lives. Though they stumble, they will never fall, for the Lord holds them by the hand. Maybe you think an innocent hand wrote those words. King David was not a failure, but he failed. See the difference? You have failed, I have failed, but we are not failures because the godly get back up again, though we fall 7 times. King David had an affair with a woman and wanted her so bad for himself, he made sure that her husband got murdered. Poor Uriah. Now, King David and Bathsheba had to face some consequences for the sin that they committed, but God also redeemed that. King David was a man who failed and who was forgiven. He was also called a man after God's own heart. You and I can learn how to get back up again when we fall. We can learn how to forget the past and look forward to what is ahead. We can learn to press on. And yes, we can believe that the Lord directs our steps. Though we stumble, though we fail, God is holding our hands. Think of a little child holding your hand. That's how you can look at God. Someone who's got your back, who's looking out for you, who loves you unconditionally and forever. Till next time, you're really loved. Thank you for making time for the Bible for Busy People today. If being part of this community is a blessing to you, it's super easy to share this podcast with someone you love. We're all about spreading the hope of Jesus like butter. So if you've got a moment to write a review, boy, we'd really appreciate that. Maybe you need a little prayer today, or you're ready to take that next step with God. I invite you to check out our show notes. You're going to find lots of encouragement there. This podcast is one branch on a tree called Purposely, a podcast network designed with practical podcasts to help you find and thrive in God's purpose for your life. If you've got a pulse, you've got a purpose.